Hey boys and girls, it's Monday, June 1st. Well, we made it through May. You only have a few more, don't look at my hair. You only have a few more days and you'll be out of school. After today, it's what, 7 more days? If you haven't sent your picture to me, send your picture holding a blank white piece of paper down like this under your chin. I saw Cadavian today at Food Line. I got so excited to see him. Little sweet thing. And let's see what else. But yeah, send that picture to me on Dojo or send it to my email. Just take a picture on your mom or dad's cell phone or your cell phone and send it to Luann Morse at richmond.k12.us.nc. Okay? All right. Now, when we left our story Friday, we had read chapter 3, and he had made it to the house of the hermit shepherd, who his dad told him to find, and that he could possibly help him with the scroll. And so at the end, they had, they were looking at a mural. You know, that's a picture that's been drawn like or painted on the side of a building or wall. And they were looking, and the hermit shepherd said, "This mural shows the history of our world. It's a painting of what's written in the golden scroll." He stepped back to the table and began reading from the scroll. While the words were read, Quentin's imagination ignited. He stepped closer to the mural for a better look and found himself being pulled into it, as though he was watching actual events instead of a picture of them. Okay, so I'm going on now to chapter 4, and it's titled The Mural and the Golden Scroll, because they're linked closely together. And here's the picture of them looking at the mural that looked like the outside, and then there's the scroll laying on the table. Okay, chapter 4. This is what Quentin saw in the mural. A glorious king sat upon a beautiful... Now make a picture in your mind as I read this. This is what he's seeing. So you're making a visual. You're visualizing in your mind what I'm reading. A glorious king sat upon a beautiful throne of gold. He was called the High King. From him came a radiant light that illuminated his entire realm, the summit kingdom. This king had only to speak a word, and the most beautiful things would appear. One day he spoke, and an entire land appeared before him, with majestic high mountains, lush green meadows, and forests with neither briar nor thorn. Quentin had never seen a land more beautiful. The longer he gazed, the more he wanted to go there. The High King spoke again, and 2 people appeared, a man and a woman. Quentin somehow knew that the High King loved this couple greatly and wanted the best for them. They were given freedom to fully enjoy the entire land, all except for one place. Quentin saw the king pointing to a great crack splitting deep into the earth, a massive fault line. The High King told the man and woman not to cross the fault, or they would fall from the High King's realm and be separated from him forever. They heard his warning, and all seemed well. Then something terrible happened. A devious creature clothed in darkness called out to the man and woman from across the fault. Quentin could see this hideous being crouched in the shadows near the fault's edge as he called for the couple to join him. The man and woman seemed hesitant, but the dark creature gave them a vain imagination, making them think they could have a kingdom all their own if they only crossed over. That reminds me of something. If you ever read the Bible, that reminds me of Adam and Eve in the Bible, because they had it made and then they didn't do the right thing. They're getting lured. Seeing their danger, Quentin cried out to the man and woman not to listen to the beast, but they didn't seem to hear. As soon as they crossed the great fault, the ground began shaking. This horrific earthquake caused the couple to fall to the ground, and the fault line instantly widened and split them off from the rest of the land, plunging them into the chasm of darkness. Suddenly, Quentin was struck with panic as he felt something grasping his ankle and swiftly dragging him forward toward the chasm. I think it's chasm. Oops, sorry, y'all. Towards the chasm. CHASM. Oh, my Lord, now he's getting drug. He let out a terrorizing scream as he was jerked over the edge and pulled into the darkness below. Poor Quentin. When he finally landed, Quentin was surprised to have no broken bones, but as he looked around, everything appeared gray and bleak. A smoggy haze filled the air, making it difficult to see anything around him. Looking up, however, he was somehow able to see the Summit Kingdom in the great mountains, and something told him that the High King there was weeping. Then Quentin heard the sound, somewhere nearby, of chain links clanking against each other. He peered through the haze and saw the man and woman bound in chains. Standing just behind them was the dark creature. He tightened their chains like a leash and laughed with sinister delight. Evil. Sinister is another word for evil. This was the Dark Master. Under his power, it was clearly impossible for a man and woman to ever go back to the beautiful and bright land of the Summit Kingdom. Overwhelmed by these tragic events, Quentin closed his eyes. "Stop!" he cried. "I don't want to hear any more." As he hurriedly stepped back, he caught his boot on something. He tumbled backward onto the floor. When he looked up, he found himself in the quiet room again beside the hermit shepherd at the table. Phew, thank goodness. Quentin pointed to the mural on the far wall. "I hate that story. These people were so happy in the Summit Kingdom. Why did they cross the fault? Why did they listen to the Dark Master? They lost all their happiness." "That's not the worst of it," the old man said. "They also lost the light of the High King. Without that, they faced nothing but death that darkness brings." "Why couldn't the High King just take them back?" Quentin asked. "He seemed like such a good king." "He's perfectly good," said the old man, "which is why no darkness can dwell in his kingdom. Darkness is possessive. The man and woman crossed over into it, and now all who come after them belong to that same darkness. They're all bound with the same chains." "I'm not bound," Quentin boldly stated. He lifted his hands. "Look, no chains." The man sadly shook his head. "Can you read?" he asked. It seemed a random question. "Of course," Quentin said. "I can read." The shepherd laid a finger on the scroll, then nodded to Quentin. "Read this." Quentin walked up to the luminous writing, feeling the urge to impress this man with his reading ability. He quickly sounded out words with confidence and clarity. What he was reading, however, made Quentin uneasy. These were pure demands on how life must be lived. Quentin realized he didn't measure up to the perfect light the scroll described, and because the shiny letters were so reflective, he sensed that he was looking not just at words, but at a mirror. It gave a kind of reflection of him. As this image came into focus, Quentin saw vividly a hideous, rusty chain binding his wrist. Goodness gracious. His eyes darted from the reflection to his hand. To his horror, shackles appeared where the golden scroll's light touched his wrist. "No!" Quentin shouted. He jumped away, shielding his hands from its light. In the safety of his own shadow, he looked again at his wrist. No chain was visible, but when he stepped again into the light, the shackles instantly appeared. That scroll, Quentin shouted. Put it away. The hermit shepherd made no move to roll the scroll shut. The golden scroll is not what binds you, he said. It only shows you the bonds you already wear. The darkness of this world hides them. It's only the High King's light that exposes them. Quentin felt frustration and shame. Then get it away, he yelled again. I don't like it. The man stayed motionless, staring anxiously into Quentin's eyes. It was all too unbearable. Quentin darted out of the room. He rushed down the hall, then burst out the door of the house and hurried down the hill. Behind him he heard the old man calling, Stop, lad! Don't hide who you really are. Let the light free you. Quentin's mind scoffed at such words. Free me? How? By saying I'm bound by darkness? No, that was humiliation. At the bottom of the hill, he bounded over the stone wall, crossed the clearing, then rushed into the trees. In the forest quietness, he stopped running. Catching his breath, he tried to clear his mind from the troubling images and thoughts he encountered in the shepherd's house. He tried to replace those bad memories with better thoughts. I'm a good person.